All right, I'm going to talk to you today about something that I find to be just incredible that happened with sports about 10 years ago. It's the innovation of the spread offense. You ask yourself, what's a game changer? What can we use that term for? You use it for a lot of things: military strategy, politics, business. Anything that really just flips the field on its head. That makes the competition not sure what's going on, gets your opponent off balance. That's a game changer. That's something the spread offense has done. The spread offense, it evolved over many years. And you could go back to the beginning of football to look at its evolution. But it really got put into place by a guy named Mike Leach. And he was the offensive coordinator at Kentucky when Tim Couch was the quarterback there. And Mike Leach was a goofy guy. Never really played football before. He was a lawyer, but decided he wanted to coach after he went to law school. Obsessed with pirates. I mean, used to hang a pirate flag over his practices. He's at Kentucky, and they have this pass-happy offense going. And they're throwing 50, 60 times a game. Tim Couch, their quarterback, ends up going #1 in the draft. Meanwhile, Oklahoma, who's one of those old guard powerhouse teams from the past, and not so much from the past, but they've just traditionally been a powerhouse team, and they're going through a rough time. And they got this young, charismatic coach named Bob Stoops. And he's got a bunch of problems. He needs to figure out how to get this program back on top because they don't keep coaches at Oklahoma very long if they're not successful. And he goes and he hires Mike Leach. Mike Leach gets to Norman, Oklahoma, and realizes he's got a bunch of fast guys, a lot of great skill players. He doesn't have any offensive linemen. Now I'm going to stop for a second. In football, especially college football, offensive linemen do not grow on trees. They are the most underrated commodity to come by. Those are your guys that protect your quarterback. It doesn't matter how fast your players are, how good your quarterback is. The bottom line is, if you don't have guys that can protect them, they're not going to have time to be fast or to be a good quarterback. It just doesn't work like that. So, kids that are 6'5", 320 pounds, which is your ideal offensive lineman, and by the way, can move like a cat, they don't grow on trees. So they take time to develop. 18-year-old kids are not built like that. Mike Leach didn't have any of those kids, and he realized it. And when he went up against teams like Nebraska and Texas, he knew he was going to need a way to – that was the only way to beat them, essentially. So what he did is he brought a spread offense. And it all starts with the box. Now here's the offensive side of the box right here. All right? You have your left tackle, your left guard, your center who's going to snap the ball to the quarterback, your right guard, and your right tackle. Okay? That's the offensive line. These are the guys that are ideally supposed to be around 300 to 325 pounds. And again, like I said, can move laterally. Very hard to come by. Here's how a defense is supposed to set up against that offensive line. Traditionally, this is a pro set. Okay? So you have your left tackle, your left guard, your center, your right tackle. Now on defense, you have your two defensive ends. Okay? These guys are quick guys. They're big, but they're quick. They're ideally, between 6'2", 6'5", and are faster going up and downhill than than your average person. Your defensive tackles, those are big. Those are also big uglies. Those are 300-pound guys ideally that can just bulldoze through here and create a lot of havoc and a lot of confusion and congestion in the middle. Linebackers, that's your second level. Okay, you have your two outside linebackers and a middle linebacker. Now, this isn't how you have to play defense against a pro set. This is just a very standard way to do it. This is how you teach Pop Warner most likely how to do it. So, you have your middle linebacker, your outside linebackers. These guys, not as big as the defensive ends, but they're faster. Those are the fastest guys in the box, but they're the smallest guys in the box also. But, so you see here, you have 5, essentially, against 7. Now, this is what a full pro set in offense and defense looks like on a normal play. Okay? You have your box right here. And then look at what you have. All right, so you have your receivers on the outside, your tight end and your receivers. Okay? You have your cornerback guard and your receivers. You have your safeties, which are out of your box. Okay? And then you have your tight end, which is usually picked up by one of your safeties or one of your linebackers. So you have the box. And essentially you have 7 defensive players in the box. All right? 4 on the line, so you have 5 linemen. So you have 4 guys that can play man up on a lineman. Each one of these guys can take one of them and have a man free. So we'll say the left tackle takes the end, the guard takes the guard takes the tackle, and tackle takes the end. Fullback's going to come around and block the middle linebacker. Running back's going to follow the fullback, but he can still get crushed on by the two outside linebackers. That's where you need a great offensive lineman and a great fullback. That's what Mike Leach didn't have. Now, Mike Leach spread it out. This is what one of his formations look like typically. Instead of two cornerbacks, you force the defense to play with at least three, because you have 3 to 4 wide receivers on the field. You have a linebacker that's forced to come out here to play on a tight end, or a wide receiver, which would be another cornerback taking another linebacker off the field. Instead of 2 safeties, you have 1. Here's your box. Except the box is going to look a little different under this formation. See? You have your offensive line, which is normal. That's not going to change no matter what. And you have your defensive line, which is normal, but you're missing that middle linebacker. So now instead of having that defensive advantage as far as numbers go, you have an advantage for the offense. You have your left tackle could pick up your end, your left guard could pick up your tackle, your center could pick up this outside linebacker as the right guard cuts down on this defensive tackle, your right tackle picks up on this defensive end right there, which leaves this linebacker in space, which gives the quarterback or the running back a decision essentially, which is going to bring us to, well, we'll get to that in a few minutes, but essentially you have one guy right here guarding 2 players. So Mike Leach wanted to figure out how to get the ball to his athletes and get those mismatches. And he did that by spreading the field out and making the defense, more than being able to play as a unit and guard space, they had to guard the man. And, it worked great. Oklahoma won the national title that year. He gets the job at Texas Tech, and a bunch of and the spread offense catches on with a flurry. By the way, this only happened in the year 2000. This is a brand new innovation to college football. So then he gets a job at Texas Tech and go on to have unprecedented success. Almost every coaching record that's at Texas Tech is owned by Mike Leach. So Urban Meyer gets the job at Florida, and he runs the zone read. Chip Kelly is an offensive coordinator from New Hampshire who gets the job at Oregon, who also runs that zone read. Now I'm saying zone read, I haven't explained it to you yet. I'm going to in a second. The zone read is the running version of the spread offense. Okay, so you have your box, your quarterback, and your running back with a safety thrown in there. There's a point called the mesh, all right? The ball gets snapped to the quarterback, all right? The quarterback is going to hold the ball out like this for his running back, right? The running back's going to come. The quarterback is going to read this man right here, the defensive end and the linebacker. They have a choice at this point. Do they bite down on the running back? And if they do, they'll pull out here and block down here. So the running back will have a wall to run into. What the quarterback does, if he reads this properly, is he pulls the ball in and just goes the other direction. This play has worked to incredible success and has changed college football forever. You hear names like Vince Young, Tim Tebow, in modern day, Cameron Newton, who's a Heisman Trophy candidate, Denard Robinson, another Heisman Trophy candidate, Darren Thomas, the quarterback at Oregon. They're all Heisman Trophy candidates because of this zone read play. It spreads the defense out. Speaking of which, guys like Darren Thomas were not highly recruited by anybody. They're quick guys that could throw the football. That was really it. Darren Thomas is never going to be an NFL quarterback. He's very much a system player, which is what this system does. You don't need the best players to run it. You just need the right players. Now, what the zone read does is it totally puts the defense on their heels, which is a great place to have the defense if you have quick guys, because a split second of hesitation and your guy can be 20 yards past the defense. Perfect example of this is a great play Oregon loves to run. Before the play even happens, quarterbacks, he's doing his pre-snap reads. That's where you see on TV. He's got the ball out. The center's got the ball, hasn't snapped it. Quarterback's looking over the field. He says, "Where's the linebackers? Where's they set up?" He's saying blue 42. Everyone's heard that. Running back, ball has not been snapped yet, will come in what's called motion. He'll step up, and he'll line up right here, which really, another play, but it'll basically make that side of the field look like this. You have 3 wide receivers, trips, except one of those wide receivers is a running back. So the running back is lined up here now. There's only 2 cornerbacks to guard them. Ball snapped to the quarterback, right? Running back's going to pick up this cornerback. This wide receiver is going to pick up this cornerback as this one slips back through here. So the quarterback gives this wide receiver the ball while these 2 guys are picked up, and all this wide receiver has to do is beat this safety and this linebacker from the box down to the corner. That's what happens when you create this kind of space. Another situation. You have your hybrid tight end. This is a formation that Florida loves to use. You have your hybrid tight end fullback right here behind the offensive line. You have your running back, your quarterback, then trips wide receivers. So you have to have 3 cornerbacks condensed guarding these guys. You have to bring your safety over here to protect that tight end. They run the zone read. Quarterback's going to keep it, though. All right? The defense, say even if they don't bite, they're going to take half a second hesitation to lean this way. Meanwhile, the whole offense is going full speed this way. So the quarterback, they have the mesh, the zone read. Quarterback is going to have the ball out, tuck it back in, take off this way. Meanwhile, the defense, looking back at the quarterback, is stopped in hesitation. So they got momentum going this way, and the defense is stopped. The defense has to get all that momentum back. Meanwhile, you have a tight end that snuck out into the flats, and 3 wide receivers coming this way while the quarterback rolls out. That could make for a long day for the defense if they keep falling into that trap, which is a very tough one not to fall into just because the quarterback, if run properly, has a lot of different options to use. This has changed football forever. It's basically turned to a game where the defenses are judged as a unit on how they can play one-on-one and individually. 75% of high school teams now run the spread offense. Teams like Appalachian State, who aren't even Division I, went into a place like Michigan and beat them with a spread attack because Michigan just didn't figure out how to defend it. The NFL will never have spread offenses simply because the defense can get that momentum back that I just talked about. They're too big, too fast, and too strong. Bottom line is there's 120 teams in college football. Every one of those teams has 90 players. The NFL only has 32 teams, and you're only allowed to have 48 players on each one of those individual teams. The parity is just not is just there. And I mean, there's the number 1 team in the NFL to number 32 in the NFL. There's not that much different on talent. They're very similar. Your quarterbacks are just going to get hurt that way. But what this has done for college football is it changed the game forever. It took teams like Oregon and West Virginia. You have teams now like Arizona State and Arizona who were really kind of afterthoughts and are now powerhouse teams. University of Florida, perfect example. They won 2 national championships since 2005 when Urban Meyer took over there. They were always a good team. They weren't a national title, perennial powerhouse like that. Nebraska's back in the top 10 with the spread offense. If you look at the top 10 today compared to where it was 10 years ago, there's only one team that's in that top 10 that was in that top 10 10 years ago. 1. 7 out of those 10 teams run a spread offense. And, Oregon is the best example of this. They don't have one player that is on the top 5 in anyone's draft board. They don't have a single guy that's going to be one of those big bonus babies going in the first round. Yet, they look unbeatable right now in college football just because they run that spread offense to perfection, which shows you don't need the best players to run it. You just need the right ones, which really proves that if run correctly, there is no schematic advantage in anything, especially in sports like the spread option brings to college football.